I always thought betrayal would come loud, like a slammed door, or a scream, or one of those melodramatic breakdowns where someone drops a wine glass just so it can shatter between their fingers. But for me, it started with a beige envelope. No handwriting. No return address. Just my name, Daniel, typed out like a label slapped on a manila coffin. I found it on the kitchen counter, right where I usually leave my keys. My wife, Erin, was still asleep upstairs. Or pretending to be. At that point, it was getting hard to tell. I opened it with one of those letter openers she got me for our anniversary, back when we still did thoughtful things like that. Inside were 4 photographs. Glossy. Clear. Cruel. And you know what? It wasn't the fact that she was with another man. It was the way she smiled in those pictures. Not a polite smile. Not the one she gave to neighbors or baristas. No, this was the one she used to give me. Back when she'd walk barefoot into the kitchen at 6 a.m., just to wrap her arms around my waist while I poured coffee. Now it was plastered all over someone else's hoodie. A man I didn't recognize. Tall, beard that tried too hard. Aviators indoors. That kind of guy. They were in a hotel room. A familiar one. The clock in the background read 3:42 p.m. and the sunlight on the windows matched the time she told me she was at Pilates. I should have felt anger, or heartbreak, maybe even disbelief. But what I felt, what genuinely sat in my chest, was clarity. Like someone wiped the fog off a mirror, and suddenly I could see my reflection for what it really was, a man holding on to the frame of a life that no longer had a picture in it. Daniel. I heard her voice from upstairs, groggy, sweet, the kind she used when she wanted to borrow the car. You up? I looked at the envelope again. Then I tucked it under a magazine on the counter. Yeah, I called up. Just making coffee. She didn't respond. Probably rolled over and went back to sleep, the way people do when they trust their secrets are still safe. I poured myself a cup. Black. No sugar. Like the day ahead. I didn't know who sent those photos. I didn't know when. But I knew why. Someone wanted me to wake up. And I had. Fully. I sat at the table, sipped slowly, and smiled for the first time in a long while. Because Erin had no idea that I'd been preparing for this. I just hadn't told her yet. The thing about betrayal is it's never sudden. Not really. It's a slow leak. A draft in the house you ignore until you're shivering in July. I had noticed the cracks for months. Maybe years. Like the way Erin's phone never left her side anymore. Not even to pee. Or how she started wearing perfume to run errands. The same perfume she wore on our honeymoon in Santorini. The one she stopped using around me 2 years ago because it gave her headaches. Headaches, huh? Apparently they cleared right up once Aviator Boy entered the picture. But I wasn't bitter. I was methodical. That morning, after the envelope, after the coffee, I went into what I now call the inventory phase. Not emotional. Not confrontational. Just me, a notepad, and the truth. I started cataloging. Not just things she'd done recently, like the extra charges on our joint account from places I'd never heard of, but things from long before. That conference in Palm Springs last winter? Turns out, there was no conference. Just 2 plane tickets and a couple's massage receipt she left in the glove box. Or the time she stayed late at work and came home humming a song I'd never heard before. One that, funny enough, was playing in that hotel room photo from the envelope. Same song. Same grin. You'd think I'd be broken. But I was oddly calm. Like I was watching a movie I'd seen before. Only this time, I wasn't the clueless protagonist. I went into the attic that afternoon. Dug out an old banker's box labeled Daniel's Taxes 2015 to 2017. Inside, every shred of paper I ever saved out of habit, including the prenup Erin insisted was just a formality. Guess what I found? A clause. One I forgot about. One she probably forgot about too. Adultery clause. Section 6, paragraph C. If proven, she gets nothing. Not the house. Not the savings. Not even the Peloton she never used. You know what else? That envelope with the photos? Postmarked from our neighborhood. Which meant someone close had seen it all and decided I deserved the truth. A friend? A neighbor? Her guilty conscience? Didn't matter. I took the photos, scanned them into my computer, saved them in 3 different folders, uploaded them to the cloud, backed them up on a flash drive, and placed that flash drive in a Ziploc bag, taped under the sink. You know, for safekeeping. Because here's the thing about people like Erin, they bet on your silence. They bet that you'll be too broken to fight back. That you'll play the noble fool while they play house with the help. But I wasn't the fool. Not anymore. And I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to confront. No. I was going to plan. And trust me, revenge plan with a steady hand? That's the kind that lingers. Erin loved to host. She called them micro-celebrations, which, if you've never suffered through one, imagine a regular dinner party but with matching napkin rings and emotionally repressed tension you could butter onto a baguette. This one was for her promotion. She called it a milestone. I called it smoke. 8 guests. All handpicked. Mostly her side of the friend circle. High-salaried men with networking potential. Pilates moms who talked like they curated their marriages through Pinterest boards. Then there was me, the supportive husband in the corner, refilling wine glasses and nodding like a bobblehead. And Erin, floating room to room in a green satin dress I'd bought her years ago. She hadn't worn it since our anniversary in Charleston. Too tight, she'd said back then. Apparently, it fit just fine now. You're quiet tonight, Daniel, someone said, one of Erin's friends. I think her name was Brielle. She had the kind of smile you reserve for dog videos and mild judgment. Just soaking it all in, I replied, swirling my wine glass. Making memories. That got a polite laugh. Erin was across the room, talking to her colleague, him, the man from the photos. I didn't need to confirm it. I'd Googled his LinkedIn page that morning. Same smile. Same beard. Same sunglasses perched on his head like a lifestyle choice. She hadn't even tried to hide it. Bold move. They were talking close. Closer than colleagues. She leaned in, touched his chest. He laughed and whispered something that made her smile in a way I hadn't seen since we used to share secrets under our blanket fort on rainy Sundays. A toast was proposed. Of course it was. Erin clinked her spoon to her glass. All eyes turned to her. To new chapters, she said, lifting her glass. To growth. And to the people who help us become who we're meant to be. Subtle. I raised mine too. Smiled. To honesty. Another polite laugh. She didn't look at me. The thing is, she thought she was in control of the narrative. Erin always had a knack for shaping reality to her liking. She could paint betrayal in pastels and convince everyone it was art. But I had already rewritten the ending. After dessert, some overpriced lavender creme brulee I pretended to like, I passed around a small stack of printed thank you cards. Each had a personalized message. Inside? A photo. One photo. Black and white. Elegant. Artistic. Even. It showed Erin and her colleague, mid-laugh, hands intertwined, exiting the same hotel from the envelope. Not obscene. Just undeniable. I didn't say a word. I just passed them out like party favors. Faces dropped. Forks froze. One man choked on his espresso. Erin's hand trembled as she opened hers. Her smile collapsed in slow motion, like a building that didn't know it was already condemned. Daniel, she breathed, voice barely above a whisper. Figured you'd all appreciate a memento, I said, standing. This seemed like a night worth remembering. And then I left. No slamming doors. No shouting. Just silence and the sound of a lie cracking under its own weight. I didn't go home that night. I didn't need to. I'd already moved everything important, passports, birth certificates, flash drives, my grandfather's watch, into a locked safe at a storage unit across town. One of those nondescript concrete cubes no one pays attention to unless they're trying to disappear. I checked into a modest extended-stay hotel. The kind with stale carpet, burnt coffee, and no follow-up questions. I slept like a man with nothing left to lose and everything to gain. At 9 a.m. sharp, I walked into the office of Rosalind, Roz Mercer, divorce attorney and human buzzsaw. I'd done my research. Roz had 3 things I liked: a track record of legal obliteration, a dry wit sharper than most scalpels, and no time for nonsense. Her office smelled like espresso and strategy. She didn't rise when I walked in, just pointed to the chair. You must be Daniel. Sit down. Tell me everything. And speak slowly. I like betrayal served hot. I handed her the folder, pictures, receipts, bank statements. I even included the prenup, color-coded and tabbed like a high school book report. She raised an eyebrow. Well, she muttered, flipping through the evidence. You've been busy. I don't believe in losing on technicalities, I said. Roz chuckled. You're not just hiring me to win. You want to leave footprints on our reputation. I didn't answer. She kept reading. Then, adultery clause, section 6C. Wow. She signed this. She insisted on it. Said it made her feel secure. Roz looked up, eyes gleaming. Good. Because we're going to bury her in her own paperwork. That afternoon, I went home, not to fight, not to confront, just to observe. The front door was unlocked, And the house was exactly how I left it. Sterile, overly curated, like a magazine spread with no soul. Erin was in the kitchen, phone to her ear, pacing like a cornered animal. "No, I don't know how he got them," she hissed into the phone. "It doesn't matter. Everyone saw them, Jen. At least 2 people left early, and Greg looked like he wanted to drown himself in the creme brulee." She turned and saw me. The call ended instantly. "Daniel," she said, the name tight between her teeth. "What the hell was that last night?" "Honesty," I said, stepping inside. "Remember? We toasted to it." She crossed her arms. Defensive posture. Her go-to. "You ambushed me in front of my friends. You invited them. I just made it memorable." Her face twisted. "You think this is going to get you sympathy? What? You want people to feel sorry for poor, boring Daniel who got cheated on?" I smiled. "No, Erin. I don't want pity. I want clarity. And I've got it." She narrowed her eyes. "You're being dramatic." "No, I'm being strategic." That word stopped her. Then I dropped the paperwork on the kitchen island. "Roz Mercer is my attorney. You've probably heard of her. Most people only hire her when they plan to win." Erin's hands went to her temples. "You're divorcing me? I'm reminding you that actions have consequences. Like violating an adultery clause you forgot existed." She picked up the prenup, scanning the highlighted paragraph like it was written in another language. "This is ridiculous." "No. What's ridiculous is you parading your affair in front of my face and expecting a standing ovation. What's ridiculous is you thinking I'd stay quiet. You're seriously going to ruin me over this?" I took a deep breath. Not angry. Not flinching. Just done. "No, Erin. You ruined yourself. I'm just making sure you don't rewrite the ending." Over the next week, the dominoes fell. Roz filed everything by Monday. Erin was served papers at work, which felt fitting considering her little office romance. Her HR department, unsurprisingly, had opinions about affairs between colleagues. Turns out, Aviator Boy was technically her subordinate. Oops. She moved out that Friday. Didn't say goodbye. Left her key on the counter next to a dead plant she forgot to water. The house felt lighter, like it had exhaled for the first time in years. And me? I didn't celebrate. Not outwardly. I kept things quiet. Focused. Patient. But inside, I was reclaiming every inch of my life. I started cooking again. Real meals. The kind with garlic and butter and spice. I opened the windows. Let in the air. Changed the sheets, tossed the throw pillows she insisted we never use, and played the records I hadn't touched in years. One night, I found myself dancing, just me, barefoot in the living room, holding a glass of bourbon and swaying to Sam Cooke like a man who'd been in solitary confinement and finally stepped outside. I wasn't whole yet, not even close, but I was free. And freedom tastes a lot like revenge marinated in legal paperwork. It started with a knock on the door. Not a frantic one. Not even hesitant. Just 2 slow, calculated taps. I was making French press Colombian roast, dark as a funeral suit, when I opened it. Erin stood there, sunglasses on despite the overcast, holding a manila folder like she'd finally realized the paper trail could bite back. She didn't speak at first. Just stepped inside uninvited and hovered by the kitchen island like she still owned the place. Her eyes did a slow survey of the room, missing photo frames, bare counters, different throw blanket on the couch. She noticed. "You redecorated," she said coolly. "I disinfected," I replied. She took off the sunglasses. Her eyes were tired, probably from the triple shifts at damage control. I knew she'd been calling around, trying to rewrite the narrative. She was used to being the victim in other people's stories. Turns out, it's harder to play the part when someone else owns the script. "I came to talk," she said. "You've got 5 minutes. That's 4 more than you gave our marriage when you booked that hotel." She winced like I'd stepped on a bruise. "Can we not do the snark thing?" she asked. "I'm trying here." That made me laugh. "You think I'm being snarky?" "I'm being polite. Polite is letting you in. Polite is not pointing out that your colleague got demoted last week." Her face flushed. So she had heard. "I didn't come to argue." "Then why are you here?" I asked, sipping my coffee. "Forgot your backup boyfriend? Looking for closure?" "Spare charger." She set the folder down, slid it across the island like a mob boss offering terms. "It's a proposal. A threat. A compromise." I raised a brow. "Erin, this isn't hostage negotiation. You don't get to plead down after the ship's already sunk." She took a breath. "You want me to walk away with nothing. I get it. But I gave 10 years to this marriage." "You took 10 years from it," I cut in. Fine, she snapped. But I'm not the only one who built this life. I helped renovate this house. I brought in clients to your consulting firm. I made this home a place worth living in. You also brought another man into our bed, Aaron. Or are we pretending hotel sheets don't count? Silence. She looked down, then back up. I'm offering to waive spousal support if we split the house and investment 60/40ths. You keep the cabin. I get the art. We walk away clean. No court circus. No bloodbath. I stared at her. You think this is a mess I wanted to avoid. You think I'm scared of the court. You should be, she said, almost gently. It's humiliating. For both of us. I leaned in. You think I care about humiliation? You broadcasted our implosion over hors d'oeuvres and red wine. The only thing I care about now is truth. And you, Aaron, you're allergic to it. She blinked. This, vindictiveness, it isn't you. I gave her a cold smile. No, it's what you made. She reached for the folder, as if to reclaim some dignity. I was trying to be fair. You were trying to control the fallout. She straightened her shoulders. If this goes to court, you'll be painted as the bitter husband who's trying to ruin my career. Oh, you should worry about your career, I said, sipping my coffee again. Especially when Discovery pulls up your messages on the work server. She swallowed. Yeah, I'd found those too. I walked to the door and opened it. Here's my counteroffer. You sign what Roz puts in front of you. You walk away. Quietly. And maybe, I don't send the email to your firm's ethics board. Her mouth opened, then closed. She stepped out without another word. Later that evening, I got a text. Aaron, I don't recognize this version of you. Me. He's been here the whole time. You just weren't looking. By the end of the week, Roz called. She's cracking, she said. I've seen it before. The ones who play the confident card early always fold fast. She tried to offer me a deal, I said. Roz laughed. I bet she did. And let me guess, it was garbage wrapped in glitter. Pretty much. Good, she said. Let her squirm. The longer she tries to compromise, the stronger our position gets. The following Sunday, I ran into her mother at the grocery store. She didn't avoid me. She walked straight up, a bag of frozen peas in one hand, pity in the other. I don't want to take sides, she said. You already did, I said. She looked ashamed. She's still my daughter. And I was your son-in-law. For a decade. She nodded, as if tallying the damage in her head. For what it's worth, Daniel, I'm sorry. I didn't raise her to be careless. I offered. Cruel, she whispered. I nodded. Well, she learned it somewhere. Back home, I found the house quieter than usual. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, it feels earned. I walked past the shelf where her photos used to be, past the hallway where her perfume used to linger, past the bed that no longer smelled like betrayal. The offer was off the table. The war was on, and I was just getting started. The courtroom wasn't dramatic. No thunder, no lighting, just a beige box with flickering lights and uncomfortable chairs, the kind of place where marriages are legally buried under fluorescent tubes. Erin sat across from me in her charcoal pantsuit, hair pinned into something elegant and forgettable. Her lawyer, a thin man with the personality of dry toast, shuffled through his papers like they were going to save her. Roz sat next to me, chewing a pin cap like she was bored. She wasn't. Roz didn't do bored. She did surgical. Stay quiet, she told me before we walked in. Let the facts speak. You've already won emotionally. Let's win legally. I didn't nod. I just exhaled. This wasn't about drama. It was about the clean kill. Erin kept glancing at me, probably hoping I'd offer some facial flicker of compromise. But I had nothing left to give her. No more lifelines. No more illusions. That man she married, the one who used to fold her sweaters and write little notes in her lunch, he'd been gone for months. All rise, said the clerk. The judge entered. Elderly, no nonsense. You could tell from his gait that he'd heard every excuse under the sun and didn't care for most of them. What followed was methodical. Roz began. My client, Mr. Dalton, is seeking a clean enforcement of the prenuptial agreement. The contract, which was reviewed and signed voluntarily by both parties, contains a clear fidelity clause. Exhibit A, photographic evidence. Exhibit B, bank statements indicating use of marital funds for non-marital activity. Exhibit C, correspondence between Mrs. Dalton and a third party that demonstrates ongoing infidelity. The judge didn't blink. Mr. Dalton, you have nothing further to add personally? I looked him in the eye and said, No, Your Honor. I believe the truth is already on record. Erin's lawyer stood, tried to deflect. Your Honor, while there may have been missteps, we argue that the emotional contributions Mrs. Dalton made to this marriage entitle her to a more equitable split. She was instrumental in elevating the social position of the couple. Ross stood before he finished. With all due respect, social positioning is not currency in a court of law. And infidelity isn't a misstep, Your Honor. It's a violation of contract and trust, one with financial and personal consequences. My client simply requests that the agreement they both signed be enforced exactly as written. That was the whole thing. No tears, no confessions, no soap opera ending. Just a quiet judge flipping through pages, occasionally adjusting his glasses. Then finally, he spoke. Given the clarity of the prenuptial language and the evidence provided, the court rules in favor of Mr. Dalton. The marital home remains in his possession. No spousal support shall be awarded. Liquid assets are to be divided per original terms, 60% to Mr. Dalton. Custody of shared property is resolved under Exhibit E. This court is adjourned. The gavel didn't slam. It just tapped the desk like a polite knock on a door. And just like that, it was done. Outside, the sky was overcast. Gray. Clean. Like the end of a movie where no music plays, just wind. Erin caught up with me on the courthouse steps. "Daniel," she said, almost breathless. I stopped. Turned. Her voice cracked. "You really meant it, huh?" I looked at her. Really looked. Not through old memories or past hopes, just her, now. A stranger in heels, clutching a purse that probably still had my emergency inhaler in the front pocket. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said, eyes glistening. "You didn't care if you hurt me," I corrected. "Big difference." She blinked. I was lost. "Then maybe you should have stopped looking for validation in someone else's bed." She stepped closer. "Are we really ending like this?" I smiled, just faintly. "No. You ended it. I'm just making sure the credits roll." She stared at me, eyes darting, maybe hoping for a different version of me to show up. The old Daniel. The fixer. The forgiver. But he wasn't available. She stepped back. "You'll be alone." I shrugged. Better alone than lied to. Erin took a breath like she had one more card to play. But it never came. She turned, walked down the courthouse steps, and I never saw her again. That night, I lit a fire in the backyard pit. The kind we used to sit around with esmores and soft jazz playing from a tinny Bluetooth speaker. But this time, it was just me and a whiskey neat. I tossed in the folder, the one with all the evidence. Photos, receipts, texts, proof. It burned fast. Hot. Clean. There was nothing left to prove now. Not to her. Not to the judge. Not to anyone. I had the truth. And I had my name back. And sometimes, that's all the closure a man needs. I didn't expect the ghosts. Not the kind that rattle chains or whisper in the attic. The kind that show up in your own kitchen, uninvited, long after they've been buried. 2 weeks after the court ruling, Erin's name popped up on my phone. Not a call. A shared album notification. Memories. Us. 2015 to 2022. No message. No caption. Just an unsolicited highlight reel of a life that no longer existed. Trips to Maine. Her holding up that ridiculous lobster bib. The Polaroid I took of us on the cabin porch the day after we got the keys. Back then, she was holding my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. I stared at that photo for a full minute before deleting the entire album. That's the thing about ghosts. They don't haunt because they're real. They haunt because you're not done with them yet. I was. But the house wasn't. I kept finding fragments. Her handwriting on sticky notes. Old to-do lists in drawers. A bottle of shampoo in the shower that still smelled like her. There was a dent in the mattress that didn't bounce back. I nearly donated the whole damn bed. Instead, I slept on the couch for a week, then replaced the mattress in silence. I didn't tell anyone. It wasn't worth explaining. Some grief doesn't sob. It just sighs and gets to work. 3 months later, I got the message. Not from Erin. From him. Aviator boy. Real name, Travis. It came through LinkedIn of all places. Classy, right? Professional betrayal. His profile photo looked like it was taken mid-smirk. The kind of man who tailors his apologies like a performance review. "Daniel, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say I didn't handle things well. You didn't deserve what happened, and I respect how you carried yourself. Hope you're doing okay. Travis." I didn't respond, but I did check his page. He wasn't at the firm anymore. Hadn't been since the ethics review Roz tipped off back in March. Word was, he tried to sue for wrongful termination. Didn't get far. Erin had moved firms, too. Smaller agency. Less visibility. More time to find herself, I assumed. But the part that stuck with me was this: they weren't together. That surprised me more than anything. She torched a marriage for the guy and still ended up alone. It would have been satisfying if it hadn't been so predictable. Because cheaters like Erin don't want partners. They want reflections of who they think they deserve. And that mirror breaks eventually. I finally went back to the cabin. The same one we'd bought for weekend getaways back when we thought marriage was a place, not a performance. It sat on 10 acres of woods, tucked off a dirt road no one used unless they meant to be there. Quiet. Isolated. Honest. I hadn't been since the split. Didn't trust myself not to fall apart in the echoes. But I made the drive. Alone. Windows down. Music low. Inside, everything was as we left it. Fireplace, untouched. Wool blanket on the couch. That one mug she always used, chipped at the lip, still on the shelf. I left it there, but I started reclaiming the space. One bookshelf at a time. One log chopped. One fire lit. By nightfall, I was sitting on the porch, wrapped in silence, watching the trees sway like they'd never heard of infidelity or court filings. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was healing. I felt like I was redefining. People always ask, what's the revenge? When's the twist? Where's the moment where she gets what she deserves? Let me tell you, it wasn't the courtroom. It wasn't the photos. It wasn't the career fallout, or the apology from Travis, or the haunting silence she came home to after I disappeared. Revenge wasn't any of that. Revenge was what came after. It was her seeing me rebuild without her. Her hearing from mutual friends that I'd taken a sabbatical, started consulting again, dropped weight, picked up painting of all things. It was the fact that I didn't spiral. I didn't beg. I didn't fall apart. I got better. And I got silent. I never blocked her. I didn't have to. Silence is the punishment when someone's addicted to control. No replies. No status updates. Just a black mirror that doesn't reflect them anymore. I found peace in simple things. Oil paint. Trail hikes. Conversations that didn't require translation. And in that quiet strength, that's where the cruelty lived. Not because I intended to be cruel, but because Erin expected me to collapse. And I stood up. Not shaking. Not screaming. Just done. She lost the war the moment she realized I didn't want her back, not even a little. That's revenge. Cruel? Maybe. But sometimes the cleanest revenge is becoming the man she never thought you'd be. Without her.